Recording is in progress. I have taken the waiting room off. I'm Reverend Briana Lynn. You can call me Briana. So grateful to see you here. It's good to see some orgasmic oracles here as well. Yay. You just got me yesterday. You're back for more. That makes me so happy. Love you all. Christopher Kent. I know you're not Christopher Kent, but it's lovely to see you. Tanya. Cool. Amanda's here. Sanamit's here. Cool. Yes. Lucky us. And we get each other again. If you're able to have your video on, it's helpful for me. I'm neurospicy, meaning I'm not used to just talking to myself. And so when I see people's faces and can see the physical reactions, if there's something that you agree with, a thumbs up, a little heartsies, a little flashy fingers is really helpful for me. And I'll probably repeat this again as soon as everyone comes on. We've got our chat box. We've got all the things ready. As you're coming on, if you could just type your name and where you're calling in from in the chat box, it's fun to see who's here and where they're from. We've got a really juicy topic today. And the invitation is to just try it on. We're just in the dressing room. I'm going to be presenting a pretty fucking huge reframe. And for those of you who haven't sat with me for more than 3 minutes on an Instagram, because after 3 minutes, I'm dropping the F-bombs like nobody's business. I curse a lot. I say the word fuck and bitch and shit and lots of things. If that bothers you, I'm okay with that. Part of my work in reclaiming words is curse words is what would we call the bourgeoisie class, the upper class individuals called my people. My people have been chronically in poverty, specifically in Europe for thousands of years. And the words that we use to describe our life were often called curse words because they thought we were cursing them. And part of my using the word fuck is to challenge classism. So please know it's part sailor and part just because I like the way it feels and part because the part that it irks in us all is none of us want to be seen as lower class. Because as soon as you're seen as lower class, out of all the isms, classism is the most insidious. It's the one that begins first and last. We'll be talking a little bit about that today in terms of systems. In about 1 more minute, I'm going to do an invocation to get us started. And then I'll go into just the outline that I would like to cover in the short amount of time that we have together. I am going to be talking about Orgasmic Oracle Mystery School, just so that you know I am going to be talking about a membership program. You don't have to sign up for that. I do these masterclasses free once a month for anyone who wants to come on and be a part of what I'm here to share. But just so that you know, I will be speaking about the main thing that I offer. My 2-year-old puppy is also very bitey right now. Come here, Nola. And he gets to be featured all the time to be so cute. So you may hear me cursing him a little bit. He's very needy of attention right now. He's weaning. And so he's super loving on me and very upset that he doesn't have his Milkies right now. This is day 2 of weaning. He's very emotionally distressed about it. So just know that I may be attentive to him at certain points as well. Thank you all for coming on. Like I said, if you can have your video on, that would be amazing. Any feedback around what I am sharing with you, flashy fingers, love hearts, thumbs up when you feel something that resonates, or typing in the chat box. If you can type your name and where you're calling in from, that is helpful. Tanya asked, what is your European lineage? I am Scots-Irish and Alpian from the Etruscans and the Sabines lineage, which is modern day the Alps of Italy. But my grandparents and my great-grandparents spoke Italian, but they also spoke like a little Alpian tribal language. Like there are little tribal languages still spoken in the Alps that I had no idea about until about 5 years ago. And I learned that my great-grandfather's and my grandfather's second language was Italian, and their first was this little tiny village language. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to get started with an invocation. I like to close my eyes. It's kind of a prayer. You're more than welcome to keep your eyes open, do whatever you want. I'm a big fan of I share my belief systems, but we don't have to share them together. I'll share with you what my belief systems are, but you don't have to subscribe to the same ones as me to participate. So we'll just close our eyes for a moment. Opening up this space with gratitude and thanksgiving for all that has been, for all that will be, and mostly for what is right here, right now. I just say thank you for everyone who is tuning in live, and anyone who's catching the replay. Make sure you shout out on whatever platform you are, letting me know that you're catching this on the redo. And we're just opening up the space, calling in our ancestors, the highest self of all of our ancestors, calling in our descendants, receiving our purpose from our descendants, receiving our life from our ancestors, giving life to our descendants, and giving purpose to our ancestors as we are here to come back into the center of what it means to be a human, the sacred journey of being human, not giving credit to the good and discredit to the bad, but actually learning how to digest it all as the sacred journey of being human. We lean into the mystery with this incredible teacher, this incredible space of knowing that none of us have the authority, none of us have the answer to the deeper questions, to the bigger questions, but through conversation, through breath, sound, movement, touch, through sitting around fires, through being with the elements, through being with the mother of this earth, or mother nature, we can come to a place of peace in our heart with the infinite mystery. We open up this space saying thank you to the directions and elements for guiding us now and always. I say thank you to all of our teachers, those incarnate and disincarnate. I say thank you to my mother and my father and all of my ancestors and all of my descendants. I say thank you to the creatures that I get to care for. Thank you to the food that I just ate. That'll give me strength to share this transmission today in a humble and powerful way. It's very vulnerable, what I'm about to share. So I just open my heart and open my body and open my mind to not need to attach or identify with anything, but just share my life story from a place of May this be notes from a student in the field. May this be received not as an expert who has it figured out, but here are some notes that I've taken in the field. Being self-aware while going through something like manipulation and control is so wild. And so I'm really grateful to be utilizing the power of my greatest gift. I am an oracle. The greatest gift that I have to offer on this planet is translating in ephemeral, energetic, emotional experiences into words that can be felt, understood, and digested by others. And I ask for the gentleness and the strength in this gift to be able to deliver what I'm here to deliver today with no pressure on myself or anyone else that we be anything other than what we are in this moment. For this and so much more, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. May this time bless all of us who are here live, all of our relations and all of our creations, everyone who's tuning in, the same of their relations and creations. And may this go out to bless all sentient beings across all timelines, planets, possibilities, now and forevermore. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen, amin, aho, ashe, hosha. And so it is. Blessed be. Nice deep breath together. We'll just hold it at the top. Let it out with a sound. We'll do one more of those together. Nice deep breath into the belly. Hold it at the top. Let it out with some sound. When we're ready, just opening our eyes here, connecting with those who are able to be on video. Thank you. If you are able to be on video, it's helpful for me. If not, I totally understand. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your precious day. Time and attention is the only set of resources that we'll never get back. And so you gifting me your time is really helpful to continue the work that I'm doing. And also I believe and I feel that it will be supportive for you, what you're about to receive today. For those of you just popping on, feedback works really well for me. When you like something, thumbs up, a little heartsy, a little flashy, supports me. If you're watching this on replay, just letting me know in the comments the timestamp of something that moved you is really helpful for us. Today, I want to talk about abusive relationships and this dynamic of codependency. And it's fabulous that the majority of us in here, I don't want to presuppose anything, but I would say the majority of us in here are women who identify as women or something along those lines. And there has been historical patterning of women being told that we need to have love in the center of our life in order to be complete. And for me, I'm going to start off with my own journey, and then I'm going to go a little bit more into the psycho-spiritual concepts around codependency and abuse. And then I'm going to tie that into some practices that we can utilize in our day-to-day life to be more self-aware around manipulation, control, and large group entrainment, we'll call it. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to type them in the chat box or DM me on Instagram. If you're in Orgasmic Oracle Mystery School already, please DM me on there. That helps me kind of organize where things are coming from. I was raised born again Christian in a line of churches called Calvary Chapel. And according to the definition of what a cult is, by Stephen Hassan. He's someone that I've studied deeply. I highly suggest Stephen Hassan's work, Dr. Stephen Hassan. He's a psychotherapist, and he was a part of a cult called the Moonies, which was a really popular cult in the 60s and 70s that was more Buddhist based and focused on meditation. The definition of a cult is usually a single leader with a charismatic pull that wants to control the beliefs, behaviors, and identity of those who subscribe to that group's philosophy. Oh, Tracy was Calvary Chapel too. Oof. It's a strong one, right? So each Calvary Chapel, the church that I grew up in, had a pastor, always a man, who was very charismatic. He usually had like a near-death experience, or like, I almost overdosed on drugs and then I saw Jesus story. Their testimony, which is what they call it in Born Again Christian Church, their testimony was really fucking convictional, like amazing, right? Like David Rosales of Calvary Chapel, Chino Valley, was halfway in a puddle when he saw Jesus, high on heroin. Halfway in a puddle, high on heroin, when he saw Jesus, and Jesus told him that he was going to be a part of something great. Greg Laurie, who was one of the big proponents of Calvary Chapel and ran one of the hugest churches, I think it was Calvary Chapel, Anaheim, was someone that I worked with every year. From the age of 7 to 14, I worked with something, oh my God, even saying it out loud, called the Harvest Crusade. And I was a proselytizing child, and I would be in front of Stater Brothers and knocking door to door, handing out pamphlets and asking people like, do you know who Jesus is? Do you constantly feel worried about your life? Are you always stressed? Do you wish that you could take away depression and anxiety? And I was using something that I call EMA, existential mystery angst. I've also started calling it the big empty because it describes it a little bit better, of this feeling that we as humans all have. We live, and if you've heard me speak before, you'll have heard this allegory before, so thanks for bearing with me, but we live on a small magnet that is following a giant liquid magnet spinning around, flinging through the universe at millions of miles per hour to a destination unknown. And all the science and all the measurements and all the geniuses and all the philosophers cannot come up with a reason that takes away our big empty. I believe our big empty is connected to the fact that we as mammals are actually really, really small, and that we need each other. We have an interdependence with each other and the planet that has been wildly disconnected due to colonization, capitalism, and authoritarianism. So when we have this big empty and religion comes along and says, hey, I have an answer for your big empty, it becomes real easy for us to want to fill the big empty with something out there. What we're not taught in emotional intelligence or spiritual intelligence, and why I'm such an advocate for the mystery school and the mystery, is the big empty cannot be filled by a concept or belief. It is a moment to moment tending to that which is alive in us. It is a moment to moment relationship with the infinite self. The big empty is us. We're not meant to fill it with an idea or a concept, okay? So here I am, 7 to 10, 14 years old. I was a cute kid, right? I'm convincing as fuck. Not to mention, I have the gift of oracling. I've had the gift of oracling since I was very young. I could go up to people who would be intimidating as fuck. And we were in Orange County at this time, so these are wealthy people. And I'm just little. I'm from a farm town. I don't give a fuck. And I'm walking up to people like, do you feel depressed? Excuse me, sir, do you have anxiety? Ma'am, are you overwhelmed with your children and trying to make money? And they're like, yes, child. What are you speaking of? Like, well, you know what you need? You need Jesus. because Jesus is going to fill this big empty for you. And I believed it because in my relationship to myself, what I had developed was a persona of this thing called Jesus. His name was Joshua, by the way. Yeshua ben Joseph was his full name. Joshua, the son of Joseph. Jesus was a rebranding that Constantine III did around 330 AD. Just so that you know, if any Jesus talkers come to you, you can ask him, do you actually know his real name? Do you know his name's Josh? I know a Josh in real life. Yeah, this is the same guy. Crazy, I know. But Jesus was a rebranding because Josh was way too common of a name in order to make it an empire religion, okay? Christianity existed as a small, weird cult that the Romans actually murdered the Christians. They were called the fish, aka the ichthus. The Romans murdered them for about 300 years before they culturally appropriated their little cult and turned it into an empirical religion. So that's a whole other history lesson, but we're getting into the manipulative part of religion and cults right now. So I'm walking around as a 7 to 14-year-old talking about the big empty, telling people that there's an answer to it. It's called Jesus. Right around the time when I started to have a disillusionment with the church, 13, 14 years old, when I started to study things like culture. I remember I was in the 6th grade, 12 years old, and I had done a report. We had to do a cultural report, and I did a cultural report on the Zulu nation of South Africa. And these incredible people who've been around for like 8,000 years and have all of these different types of relating, and they have a restorative justice system called Ubuntu. And again, it's not romanticized, but there's something really beautiful to learn from this culture. I'm at my youth group and I'm talking about the Zulu nation. I'm really excited about it. And maybe someday I'll visit there and I would love to, see their beadwork and learn more about how they've sustained themselves in one of the most in uninhabitable places on the planet and how they cultivate their water and all these things. And I'll never forget, Frankie was the youth group leader's name. Frankie Gonzalez comes up to me and he's like, when we're at church, we really shouldn't be talking about those who are going to be going to hell. And I just remember this feeling. I feel it to this day, my heart like dropping into my womb and my jaw just like, oh. I'm like, how in God's name would he, because at the time it was a he, decide that an entire group of people could just forfeit their eternal souls because they have chosen out of Christianity? And Frankie Gonzalez made it very clear, because there have been missionaries in South Africa. They have no excuse. If they were a remote tribe who had never heard of Jesus, aka Josh, they have an exception in purgatory. They go to this place called purgatory where they kind of hang out, and then they get the choice to choose Jesus there. If you've never heard of Jesus before, you get like a second chance when you die. Like you get like a lifeline or something. This is what they believe happens to aborted children or children who are born before they can make the cognizant choice to choose Jesus. If you're a child and you're born before you can choose Jesus, you go to this place called purgatory. You get like a game plan or something. It's very culty. Okay. So I'm here 12 years old. Okay. My entire life has been the church. From the time my parents became born again Christians 3 years before I was born. They met each other. My dad was a Baptist. My mom was a recovering alcoholic. So they were both like, we need something to raise our children that makes sense. They both were grappling with the big empty. And my parents have the sweetness of a simple mind of just trying to make ends meet. Do any of you all know what I'm talking about? Like, my parents are just focused on making ends meet. They're not philosophical. They're not necessarily asking the bigger questions. My dad does, because he has that farming poet aspect, but my mom's a pioneer woman. She's like, get her done, get the bills paid, make sure my children are fed, and has been in survival mode, in my opinion, since she was probably like 4 or 5 years old when her parents split, both alcoholics, and her mother started bringing weird people home. My mother's the oldest of 3 children. My mom became a mom around 7 years old. So she hasn't had a lot of time to philosophize and pontificate about life. She grew up very socioeconomically poor. Both my parents grew up below poverty level. I lived below poverty level until I started making my own money. And so within that line of like below poverty level, there's not a lot of space to philosophize around the potential of what it means to be human. You know what I'm saying? If you've grown up without money, you're not talking about how great it could be, the life we could dream into. They're talking about, are we eating tomorrow? Those were the conversations. And I named that because I was raised in Southern California and I present as white. And a lot of people presuppose ideas around the class that I came from. My dad was a farmer. He had 4 children and 7 brothers and sisters. Okay. We came from a dirt ass poor area. I speak Spanish fluently because I grew up hanging out in the fields with the migrant workers. And this breakdown of classism and poverty allows for the slip in of, well, when you die, none of that's going to matter, you see, because there's this paradise after, and it makes everything neutralized, like classism gets neutralized and racism gets neutralized. So we actually don't need to address that in this lifetime. This is why you see a lot of the Christian rhetoric in politics, like, racism, classism, it doesn't matter because Jesus will take care of that in heaven. They are taught systematically within their religion that these things don't matter, because what matters is your soul and paradise of what's coming next. So it allows them to abdicate their choice and contribution to the isms, to the systems of oppression, and also abdicates their role in our ecology. Most born-again Christians, specifically those in cultish environments. Now, I'm not talking about people who practice the Christian faith who believe in unconditional love. There are exceptions to this, but the majority of mega church born-again Christian cults, of which Calvary Chapel is one of many, they are permitted by their religion, their cult, to let go of any responsibility of what happens to this planet because God's got it under control. And in their biblical texts, there's this really cool thing called the apocalypse, where the earth actually gets destroyed. So they believe that what's happening right now is actually a prophecy coming true. So every time they see like 1/3 of the oceans has been destroyed, they're like, oh yes, that has been written in the book of Revelations. And you know what's fucking weird is it has been written in the book of Revelations. A lot of what's been written in that weird Christian text is actually coming to pass. So there's this weird little like, who wrote it first, the chicken or the egg? Did Christians write Revelations and then we destroyed the planet, or are we destroying the planet in accordance to that which has been written? It's a very, very interesting catch-22. But the big point that I want to drive home is when people feel the big empty and they don't have the resources to lean into the mystery, or they don't have even the option to know that they don't need an authority outside of themselves to give them permission to exist, the number one thing that the brain faults to is someone who is more powerful, more convincing, and more seems like they know more about life. I was identified at a young age. I'm the oldest of 4 girls. I have enough stereotypical beauty, and when I dress up nice, I can look really stereotypically pretty, that I could walk in spaces and convince people of things. I was being groomed at a very young age to be a fisher of men, is what we were called. We were called fishers of men. If you've been in any sort of Christian organization, you'll know what I'm talking about. We were literally meant to go out and fish men, and women too, but men specifically, because men who turn to God are going to turn their families to God. We were told as young girls to go out and proselytize to older men and to use our cuteness and our sweetness to get them to listen to us. This was my training from about 7 to 14 years old, to target men in suits, rich dudes, and speak to them about their depression and their anxiety, the big empty, and offer them a cult-ish environment as the answer. What do churches get in return for this? Well, they get your tithes. They get a sense of power. Most cultish relationships, there's usually something about money and sex in there, but the number one thing that people feed off of in leadership in the cultish or culty environments is power. Most of these are people who are either addicts or didn't have a lot of attention given to them as children, or are products of colonization and haven't had proper love and attention. So they're looking for that from an outside source. So while they're selling God or this concept of religion as the way that can fill your big empty, what they're feeding off of is your attention and time. Now, this happens in born-again Christian environments. Once I left that church, I went to the Baha'i tradition, and I love the Baha'is. They're really sweet, very culty, very sweet. What makes something culty? Charismatic leader, a set of beliefs that if you don't believe them, you're somehow bad, a set of behaviors that if you don't do them, you're somehow bad, and a set of identity that if you are not this, you are somehow bad, that it is very black and white thinking. There is a space for philosophy sometimes in these cultish environments. But as soon as you hear like good and evil, I want your little cult dart just go bing. Now, there are situations where we can determine whether it's life creating or life taking. That's different. I think murdering people is one of those, right? Enslavement of children is one of those. So it's not about naming it good or bad, but starting to determine if something is life-giving or life-taking. In cultish environments, what they want to feed off of is your time and your energy. You are giving the leadership power with your time, attention, and energy. And what it is giving you is a sense of purpose, a sense of the big empty is filled. No one joins a cult, they join a good thing. Just remember that. No one joins a cult, they join a good thing. No one's going around being like, oh, let me find my cult for today. So after the Baha'is, I joined an organization called One Taste, which I was like, okay, they're not spiritual, they're not religious. It is a tantric practice that we did. We did a tantric practice, 15 minutes of oming, orgasmic meditation. It was led by a woman named Nicole Dodone. I joined the organization at the end of 2009 and began the practice of orgasmic meditation. I got to butterfly my legs open, have my clitoris tantalized for 15 minutes by multiple partners. And the whole premise of the organization was that feminine orgasm, female bodies full of sexual orgasm can revolutionize the planet. I was like, I'm on board with that. That makes a lot of sense to me. And Nicole, super charismatic, super awesome, powerful woman from San Francisco. Like she and I had a lot of resonances in common. She was going to be a nun. There was one point when I was thinking about being a Buddhist nun. Like we just had a lot of similarities where I was like, this bitch, like she gets it, right? She wrote a book called Slow Sex, which I recommend that people read to this day. Now, please understand, I'm speaking about this woman and this organization within the topic of don't be led astray by cults. What happened in this organization? Well, they took a tantric practice, which is from the Kama Sutra, which is thousands of years old. They identified one practice out of thousands of practices and made a business model out of that one practice, this 15-minute practice, and built an entire business model, training modules and coaching modules and desire mapping and years of work that she did and that she created an entire coaching training program. I was a graduate of their first teacher training program. And the Blue Angels, if you know what the Blue Angels are, it's like the Navy fucking fighter pilots. We were in San Francisco in these barracks, these like old buildings right next to the Golden Gate Bridge, these old Army buildings. We were like on the 5th floor, our first teacher training group. There was like 12 of us, men and women. The men were stroking the women. The women could also stroke the women. And we were rotating partners. We were doing like 6 ohms in a row. Okay. I'm 24 years old in San Francisco. The Blue Angels, these fighter pilots, are shooting over us. The buildings are shaking. It felt like the apocalypse. I was a part of something revolutionary. They were very progressive. San Francisco, she had bought or rented, I can't remember, an apartment building, and everyone who was involved in One Taste was the name of the organization, lived in these apartment buildings. So it was like a dormitory of everyone practicing oming and everyone practicing. There was conscious communication, and we did emotional intelligence games, and it felt really, really fucking cool until, because no one joins a cult, they join a good thing. Just remember that. No one joins a cult. I started dating this guy, Eli. He's in, if you watch Orgasm Inc., they did a documentary around one of the cults that I was a part of. Oh, Jesus Camp is another one that's also about a cult that I was a part of. You know, they're culty when they start making docos about them. Oh God. We'll see how many more I get made after. I have a feeling my former partner will have a documentary made after him because he's so fucking crazy. But I'm going to talk about my side of it in just a moment. So here I am, Orgasm Inc. Check it out. Eli Block is featured in Orgasm Inc. You'll see my former boyfriend there. And he and I are dating. We're falling in love. We're young. We're sexy. We're part of it. He's a part of the, you know, the upper ups, and I'm being groomed to be part of their orgasm ambassadors. And we were like hot. I'm talking San Francisco, like no bras, orgasm on our t-shirts, like white t-shirts, like tight, high pants. And there'd be like 10 of us marching into an event, and every head would turn. They're like, who the fuck are them bitches? And we're turned on, right? Like we've been orgasming all day. We're in our heels. We're doing our thing. And we're like, we're here to represent orgasm. And everyone in the room is like, well, fuck the conversation around Bitcoin. Like we want to hear what these ladies are saying, right? Like, oh. it felt so powerful and so good. And like, I felt like I belonged, you know? And I was like, you know what? Religion and spirituality, whatever. It's about practice. It's about embodiment. It's about feeling it in my body. She was the first teacher that I'd ever had that really helped me feel truth in my womb. Like, what does it feel like when someone's motherfucking lying to you in your body? And I was like, oh, it feels like my shoulders get hunched, my womb shrivels up, and my jaw tightens when someone's bullshitting me. And we would practice these games where someone would be bullshitting me in front of me. And by the signals in my body, I had to tell them if they were bullshitting me or not. We practiced this shit. They were really good cult training. And then they would be telling me a true story and I could feel my shoulders lighten. I could feel my belly relax. And I started to calibrate for when people were bullshitting me or not. Young age. I'm dating Eli. He's hot, like really hot. And I'm just like, oh my God, I have a hot boyfriend. I'm in San Francisco. I wear stilettos. I'm vegan. Like I was all the things. It was just like great. I was like in hot yoga, starving myself. My eating disorder was still in full form, but I was proud of it. Like it felt good. And I felt hot and I felt like I belonged to the cool girls club. I was a fat kid growing up and I totally embraced that now. I was made fun of and bullied a lot. And so I'd never been hot before. And I'm like about to turn 25. I'm like, oh my God, this must have been what it felt like in high school when those girls would like walk down the hallway. Cause I was the girl with the braces and the belly being like, oh, that's not me. And I finally felt hot. I was like, oh yeah. I'm in San Francisco. I'm part of One Taste. Nicole Dodone is my personal coach. And she's like getting up. Like she was featured in Time Magazine. She was on fucking Oprah, like all this shit, right? She's my personal coach. Like my personal coach made over $5 million this last year. Holy shit. Like that's the direction I want to go in. I saw her as the first woman that I was ever like, you know what? I want that bitch's life. Cause it's definitely not my mom. I don't want my mom's life. No. She was the first woman I ever saw who I was like, that one. So Eli and I are dating. I get pulled into a meeting with Nicole Dodone and Rachel Sherowitz, who's also in the Orgasmic Inc. movie. And they tell me, you know, Briana, we're really concerned about your and Eli's relationship. We feel like it's distracting both of you from the mission. Isn't the mission orgasm? Like, wait, he's giving me lots of orgasms. She's like, but I've just noticed that you haven't been oming with other partners. I'm like, no, I don't want anyone else tantalizing my clit. I'm dating this dude. Like, I'm a monogamist. She's like, well, you know, monogamy is the basis of the majority of our problems in society. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure capitalism is. Like, I'm a major anarchist, just let you know. I'm pretty sure capitalism and classism and like racism and probably like trauma. I don't think monogamy is the main problem. That's just doesn't land for me. Now, granted, I'm 25, she's 40 something. And in terms of the hierarchy, I'm not saying any of this out loud. I'm just thinking some of it, but most of it, I'm just like, okay, whatever you say, Miss Nicole. Like just very in acquiescence. Have you ever been around someone where you're like, you walk away and then you have all the answers or like, oh, I could have said, I should have said. That is a real indicator of an unequal relationship. It is a real indicator that someone in front of you is using manipulation techniques or talking too fast. One or the other. But with Nicole, I could never retort. I didn't have enough deviance built up in my body. Number one, I had so much, she was on such a high pedestal for me. Like if she would have told me to self-harm, I would have self-harmed. And there are times where I did self-harm. I slept with people I didn't want to sleep with. I had sex with people I didn't want to have sex with. I owned with new men who came in because they needed a woman who knew this practice and they were brand new. And they were someone we had, because of course I got trained to go fishing again. It was like my thing, like go out and talk to the men. I'm really good with men. I can just like get them and give them just enough appreciation and accolades to like pull them in. And she saw that and she groomed me for it. And so then I would own with them, literally get naked from the waist down and do this practice with men who I had met once on the street. I'm 24 and my mentor is encouraging me to do this, all in the name of embodiment and orgasm. And I'm telling you, up until that point, I felt like I was healing from this work. I had been raped when I was 18 and still hadn't really talked about it. I was finally able to talk about the multiple sexual assaults that I incurred in college, the multiple times that I had said yes to sex when I wanted to say no, and definitely the first time I ever had sex, which was rape. And I had never been able to touch that. So that's the hard thing about cultish environments is that there's a lot of good coming in. There's a community, there's a sense of belonging. There's usually a monocabulary, like a vocabulary that only we understand. And you're like in the cool kids club because you know what tumescence means. Like orgasm isn't just when you climax. You don't know what orgasm means by our definition. Let me tell you what that means. Like there's this classist thing that happens. And when you start to feel like, wait, but I want to belong to that club, just start to notice a bing little like cult door going. It's like, what is happening here? What's actually happening here? So we've got this thing going on. They're pulling me in. It's her, Eli, me, Rachel. And Eli's like, of course, you know what? You're right. I think we do need to. And I'm looking at him like, you just told me you love me as you like came on my belly last night. Like, what do you mean you think? Like, what are you talking? Like, you crazy. You're drinking this Kool-Aid way faster than I am. And I walked away just being like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I didn't say a no to them, but I didn't say a full yes. I left the organization a month later after Eli and I stopped dating. He broke up with me that moment. Like that. And I'm glad he did, because I would have followed him into the, you can watch the documentary and see who he marries, who's my friend Maya. He ends up marrying my friend Maya, and you can see how they lead it together. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. And I didn't understand. I actually returned to One Taste in 2012, completed my teacher training, and taught orgasmic meditation on and off for a few years. I didn't start to see it really as culty until I started doing my deconstruction of cult work 3 years ago. After One Taste, I was in an organization called Santo Daime, which is an ayahuasca-based cult. They're based out of Brazil. I have a lot of respect for the lineage in some respects. In other aspects, it's incredibly manipulative and controlling. And it is well known that within the upper organization, there's a lot of sexual assault that's going on, specifically in their center in Brazil in Mapia. A lot of sexual assault, a lot of use of young women as sexual tools for the older men. And there's zero women in their upper spiritual leadership. And there's no acceptance of non-gendered beings. So non-binary people are not considered a being in their organization. It's men and women, very separate, and you have to choose a gender. I was a part of this organization on and off for about 4 years. Why I actually left was I was spending the night at the leader's house, the leaders of the Santo Daime church in Los Angeles. There's Santo Daimes all over the world. The Santo Daime church in Los Angeles, I was spending the night at the owner's house, and I had borrowed the female owner's pair of clothes without permission and then washed them and destroyed them. And she yelled at me so badly for destroying her clothes, like screaming at me. And it was like maybe $150 worth of stuff. But I was out of integrity. I borrowed her clothes without asking. Totally get it. Screaming at me so much. I was like, if someone's leading a fucking church and is having a breakdown because of their clothes, I don't want anything to do with it. So I didn't even leave because it was culty. I was leaving because I was personally shamed by the leader for being out of integrity. I feel like each culty environment that I was a part of, I didn't wake up to it until something else happened. I was also a part of an organization called Ananda, SRF, Self-Realization Fellowship. You can look into that one, super culty. Now, what is the main danger in these cults and abusive relationships? The main danger is that we are giving away our time and attention to someone who's telling us they can fill the big empty when they cannot. How does this translate into abusive personal relationships? Usually what happens as women, we've been programmed to be codependent. We've been programmed that once we receive love in just that way, the big empty will be filled. Have you ever heard that one before? Like the Prince Charming thing, or like when you find your twin flame, your soulmate. This is the New Age spirituality version of Prince Charming. And I just want to let you know it's a lie. You can have great relationships. You can feel like someone's your soulmate. But here's the bottom line. No one and no thing can fill the big empty but your present moment awareness. No religion, no spirituality, no philosophy, not me, no coach, no coaching program, not the mystery school, definitely not a religion, but definitely not one-on-one relationships. So the way that we as humans, I'll just speak as humans, get coerced into one-on-one manipulative relationships is we start to believe that without them, something in us can't survive. Something in me can't go on if I don't have their love and attention. It becomes a love and attention codependency. So that big empty in me that I have not developed a one-on-one relationship with starts to reach for something outside of me. For me, for a long time, it was food. I did drugs for a little bit. I'm not a very good drug addict. I'm like really awkward already. You put me on substances, I'm super awkward, right? I did plant medicines. I still sit with plant medicines, but I had to cool it way down because I started to think that they were going to fill my big empty. And guess what? They don't do that shit either. I felt like I was finally getting in touch with the big empty, really starting to understand it, facilitating, coaching. I was being flown to different places around the world. And then I met a man. He's changed his name multiple times. He moves about every 3 years because he's a classic con artist. And what he does is he learns people. He gets really interested. So tell me more about yourself. What happened in your last relationship? Oh yeah, how did he hurt you? What did he say specifically? And probably for the first 3 months before we were even dating, he was an archaeologist of my past relationships, archaeologist of what my triggers were and what turned me on. And me being an open book, just, open-hearted, leading from the heart, starting with trust, all of that new cage spirituality bullshit without boundaries. Love without boundaries is chaos. Let's remember that. Love without boundaries is going to be manipulation. That's what I got to learn from this relationship. I was just loving. And he's handsome, scruffy. He's got the tattoos. He was always topless, just like walking around in his thing. I was like, this man, I think this man is my king. And very early on, he started using the king and queen relationship kind of verbiage. Let's just be very clear. I don't know of a historical example of a king and queen that we actually want to be like. Let's just put that out there. All of them, most of them, maybe there's an exception to the rule. Most of them were empirical assholes. So it's a good, like that association with that human. It's like, actually, he was looking for me to be his queen. He wanted to build a cult. And I heard him saying one time, he saw himself having children with multiple women. And I just asterisked that conversation. I pulled him aside. I was like, what do you mean by that specifically? Can we just talk a little bit about that? This is before we were dating. He's like, yeah, I have 2 children with my first wife. I see myself with a second wife. And if something were to happen, like I would be open to potentially, having someone else. And I was like, so like, you talking like polygamy? What's going on? He said, well, I feel like the best situation would be to let the women be in control. And then whatever happens from there happens from there. And I was like, okay. Interesting answer, right? Like not specific. The thing about manipulative relationships is when you start to ask them about behavior, they will go into concepts. This is a big red flag. When you ask them, what are the behaviors that are the standards for our relationships? They'll go into concepts of like, well, I would only do it if it feels an integrity. What the fuck does that mean? That's a concept. I want to know are you going to be fucking my friends and having children with them? That's the behavior I missed. This is where I really messed up because I took that new age spirituality of like, oh, he's going to be in integrity and he's going to check in with me before he fucks my friends. Well, that seems like something I can work with. Because by this time, I'm already in love. I'm convinced he's my twin flame. He's planted so much language. And his youngest daughter and I were born on the same birthday. His ex-wife and my sister are born on the same birthday. My mom and his mom are going to get along great. Like there's so much in common. This is another thing, another red flag about manipulative relationships and cults. Early on, there's so much in common. There's so much synchronicity. And not that there can't be. I don't want to take away the magic from what is possible in human relating. There's a lot of magic that's possible. But if that becomes the talking point of you can be the red flag too. Let's be very clear. Just because you're here doesn't mean you're not a walking, talking red flag too. A red flag in relationships is trying to have connection before you have proof of it. You've got to live a life with somebody. You've got to see them in a few situations. Watch them on the phone to the DMV. How do they behave when the internet goes out? How do they act when someone gets their coffee order wrong? How do they act when they're traveling and they lose a bag, right? These kinds of things are really big indicators of someone who's looking. How they react in those situations are going to give you a lot more feedback than the way that they're talking to you about how they want you to be in your relationship. Another thing that is done a lot of times in manipulative relationships. Now, I want to be clear. I don't think that there's necessarily people out there who are like, I'm going to go out and get someone to manipulate today. A lot of this is unconscious programming from trauma. There are those who are maniacal, but there are very few evil people in the world who are like, wah, ha, 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 ha. Tonight we shall bomb all the children. Wah, ha, 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 ha. There are people in the world who are like, you know what? We're tired of the United States invading our countries for the past 50 years. So yeah, we might do a little strange things to our women and strange things to our children, but our name is ISIS. And in the name of not becoming imperialist assholes like the United States, we're going to behead anyone from that country who comes into our countries. They feel justified. They feel like they are being attacked by Darth Vader and the Dark Star. And that's the reality, is what we see as evil people are oftentimes those who are traumatized, who are now traumatizing others because they haven't dealt with their internal trauma and they're calling it justice. So I want to be very clear when I speak about my former partnership. I hold no resentment towards his highest self. I've cleared all my resentment towards his highest self. And I see the path that I had to go on to be able to speak specifically to you today about this. The piece that we get to take responsibility for is, what am I trying to fill the big empty with? For me, it was the checkbox of having a home and having a loving partnership that I felt like I was missing. I was building my entrepreneurial, businessy, sacred environment thing. I had incredible friendships. I had traveled the world. I'm trilingual. I had all these things under I've finished my master's degree. I felt like what I hadn't really conquered yet in terms of that checkbox was like a loving one-on-one partnership and a home with children. It's really important for us to know what checkboxes are actually ours, what are our actual desires, and what is patriarchal programming. What is the programming that the current systems have told us will make us a good person? Here's that good and evil little dichotomy again. Because guess what? Our little governmental programming, the whole authoritarian system, is one giant cult. You're right. The United States and Western culture is one giant cult. Oh, how fun. And to remember that we've been brainwashed into believing that when you're making X amount of dollars, that when you finally have the twin flame, that when you finally have the home, that somehow the big empty will be filled. It's not fucking true. I work with multimillionaires, my friends. My one-on-one clients are multimillionaires. And let me tell you, they are no more compatible with the big empty than any of you. Money will not fill the big empty. Purpose will not fill the big empty. I have someone on fucking Bill Gates's council, who's my counsel, coming to me, asking me, why do I feel so empty about my purpose? I'm like, you're literally counseling the richest dude on the planet about some of the most important decisions that we're going to be making about our technology for the next 7 million years. And you feel purposeless? Oh, we're all fucked. So I'm letting you know your purpose is not going to fill the big empty. Idea of God is not going to fill the big empty. Money is not going to fill the big empty. A personal one-on-one relationship with your twin flame is not going to fill the big empty. As a matter of fact, it will. All of these things are often distractions from what will fill the big empty. And it's a good old Buddhist concept called moment-to-moment awareness. Me being present in my body as much as I'm able to accept everything as it is, and so also my desire that it be different is the only thing that fills me now. I can only fill the big empty now. I can't fill it in the past when I didn't feel it. I can't fill it in the future when I don't know if I'm going to be able to fill it. I can only fill it now. And the only way I fill it is by bringing all of my presence into my body and giving it away. The only way we fill, F-I-L-L, the big empty, is I feel, F-E-L-L, my body from the inside out with full presence. And then I give it away to my dog, to this kombucha, to you on the call, to the trees outside. And I don't create hierarchies of the giving it away. It's just as important that I give it away to the tuna cactus outside, because I want some of those tuna fruit and I don't want them to die, as I am giving it to you for this hour. When I no longer have hierarchy around how I give my presence or to whom, it's not better that I give you my presence than it is that I to the tuna cactus, because what it's doing is it's filling the big empty. As soon as I start to believe that an external relationship, an external God, an external book, a coaching program, the right diet, a right relationship with my parents, nothing will fill the big empty other than feeling my full presence on the inside and giving it away to whatever is in front of me. And that is the relationship that will save us from manipulative relationships. Because when we are in full presence, we cannot be manipulated. And it's very similar to the training that Nicole Dodon, shout out to my old cults, gave to me. was be fully in your orgasm, is what she called it. Be fully in your body, and you can sense, you're an electromagnetic being. You can sense when someone's bullshitting you. With Frank, AKA known as Bear Heart, what I did was I overrode that system because of the way he looked and the box it checked. My identity, remember, identity is one of the three things that cults try to control. My identity was very connected to being seen as a good medicine woman, as a medicine woman who knew how to manifest things. Because there's this whole manifest, what do I want to call it? Manifest mess. There's a fucking manifest mess that has been created in the vocabulary of the New Age spirituality, and I'm going to continue to deconstruct it. You do not create your reality. Your thoughts, your feelings, you do not create your reality. It is a motherfucking lie. You co-create your reality. You co-create your reality with systems, with other humans, with things that you cannot fucking control. There are things you can control, like your words and your energy. Sometimes, if you're not hijacked by trauma, sometimes we can't control that shit because we're hijacked by trauma and patterning. So that which we can control, which is usually between 10 and, if we're lucky, 50% of our conscious reality, you can contribute to reality, but you are not creating it. And this idea of like, oh, he's in front of me, and if it triggers me, then I'm here to learn from it. No, sometimes it triggers you so you can learn to walk the fuck away. Sometimes it triggers you to learn to walk the fuck away, especially with these superficial, like first meetings with our families, with our intimate relations. I would invite you to stick around for the triggers. Let the triggers train and teach you with the people that you actually want to invest deeper in. But if you're trying to get that dude or that woman or that person to fill you, and you're going to stick around for the trigger because they're supposed to be your person, you're fucked. You're fucked. Even if they're not manipulative and controlling and coercive, if you're trying to get them to fill you, you will be disappointed every time, because the only thing that can fill you is your infinite soul. That's it. If we don't want to be manipulated, we get to develop a deep relationship with the beloved. That's you, baby. Hashtag I am my own beloved, because the idea to be loved, right? The beloved, to be loved by someone your entire life, no matter what, the only one who can that can be is you. You're the only one who wakes up with you every day. You're the only one who goes to sleep with you every day. You're the only one who's going to be with you on your deathbed, truly. And I love relating. I love relationships. I think it's important that we have intimate relationships in our world, but to understand their place. You will not be complete once you have a man in your life. As a matter of fact, you'll probably be more of his mother than anything, because the men are injured. And you will not be more complete when you have a woman in your life. Quite as the opposite. You're probably going to need to be a daddy because the women are injured. Unless they're doing the work on themselves, it's not going to work. Let's remember that too. It's a big thing I learned in my past relationship. He was healed. He was completely healed. It was amazing. He didn't need any coaching or therapy, or didn't need anything anymore. He was completely healed. If someone's telling you they're healed, run. Number one manipulation technique, avoidance. If someone tells you they're completely healed from their shadow and their trauma, they are the biggest fucktard in the room. Run. Run, my sisters and my brothers and my soul siblings. We are never fully healed until our planet is fully healed. And even then, I'm sure we'll find something else to fuck up. We get to be in the healing as a continual verb for our entire lives. The relationship will only work if you're both doing the work. Relationships only work if you're both doing the work. Or you're going to be doing all the work. Have you ever been in a relationship where you're doing all the work? Like, oh, I'll go to therapy for both of us. I'll hire a coach for both of us. Thank you very much. I will learn conscious communication for the both of us. And in whatever gender pairing it is, I love the non-binary movement because it's helping us all remember we are on a spectrum. We all have masculine and feminine, and the genderized culturalization of this is a lot more made up than it is fijo. How do you say that in English? Straight or defined. This shit ain't fijo. It's not defined. This has been defined by cultures over time. So to start to remember that for about the past 5,000 to 8,000 years, those who present as women have been indoctrinated by the cult of empires that we are the weaker sex and that we need a man in order to prove that we are worthy to be involved in civilization. And the men have been programmed. I'm doing this in air quotes for anyone who's just listening. The men have been programmed to believe that they need a woman in order to provide for them and have purpose in life. Both of these programmings are bullshit. Full bullshit. The only one who can fill you is you. And from that place, when we start relating to each other of like, hey, I'm doing the work to fill myself, and you're doing the work to fill yourself, and we can meet and do the work to fill ourselves with each other and support each other in that mutual filling. But I'm not going to expect you to fill me up. That's my job. Once we can take full responsibility that it's my job to fill me up, you're no longer going to be running around asking, where's daddy? Are you my mother? Are you my partner? Are you my daddy? Who's in charge? Once I have my partner, my body will finally be able to relax. I've had that belief system for a long time. Once I know, is it my man? Is it my woman? Is it my human? Are you my person? Have you ever read the book, Are You My Mother? It's the little gosling that gets lost and it goes around to all the animals. It like goes to the giraffe and it's like, are you my mother? And the giraffe's like, no, I'm not your mother. You're a gosling. We're going to find your mom. Goes to the dog, are you my mother? That's how I felt in the grocery store for most of my life. Are you my partner? Like maybe we'll have a meeting. They will both reach for the grass-fed beef jerky at the same time. Oh my God, it's my partner. That's such a cute kids. Let me tell you the story of how I met your dad. We were both in Whole Foods and we reached for the jerky at the same time. And I knew it. We were twin flames instantly. How many of you have fantasized about that shit? You know what I'm talking about? And we're like trying to be like, spontaneous, but like flaunt our stuff just a little bit so that our twin flame finally recognizes this, that it's us. And you know how many I've literally have probably seen and identified over 5,000 twin flames in my lifetime. I'm like, definitely my twin flame at the car wash. Does he know? Does she know? Do they know? No, they don't know because they're not crazy like you in that same way because they're not asking these weird conversations. But those of you who are here are. And if you're here, it means that you know what I'm talking about when I'm speaking of the big empty. And I created a school specifically to play with the big empty, which I like to call the mystery. Orgasmic Oracle Mystery School is a place where we get to practice spirituality from the perspective of the sacred, meaning this shit is holy. The sensual, meaning in our bodies and using our 5 senses to perceive our reality and speak truth. Social justice, we're looking at systems of oppression and how we can create systems of liberation within our spiritual work, and silliness and sweetness. Because if we can't play with this shit, we know it gets heavy real quick, real quick. I do lives every week. We have in-person opportunities coming up. We have practices where you can get on calls and do practices with each other, amazing homework, and a really incredible community. And for being on this call, there's a lot of you. Can I get hands up for those of you who are already in Orgasmic Oracle Mystery School? You could just get, so we got Orgasmic Oracle Mystery School represent right here. It's super sweet, super fun. For anyone who's on the call who's not in Orgasmic Oracle Mystery School currently, you're going to get an email from Adela, who just put up the little celebration icon in her thing that gives you a week for free for showing up to this masterclass. You can come hang out for free for a week and see if Orgasmic Oracle Mystery School is something that would be supportive for you in your life. The only thing that will support us from not getting caught in a cult or in an abusive relationship is to start to have a relationship with our big empty, with the mystery. And I'm not saying the mystery school is the answer. I'm gonna be very clear. I'm not replacing a cult with a cult. It's like going to AA and seeing everyone smoking cigarettes and chronically drinking coffee outside, right? You just replace one addiction with another. I don't want to do that with the mystery school for you. I want to be very clear. The mystery school is not the answer for your big empty. It's a place to practice the practices that help us fill ourselves up. It's just a place to practice. It's just a playground. It's not going to give you the answer, but it's a place where we can ask better questions about how to be humans on a planet that's full of mystery. So it's 1:59. I've got another call at 2 o'clock. I'm so glad you all came to join me. I can pontificate and just go and oracle. If you want to hear more oracling, Orgasmic Oracle Mystery School, you'll be getting that email. If you want to connect with me on Instagram, you already know me because most of you have connected with me there. You're welcome to send me a DM. If you liked this call, please send me a DM and give me a little review. It helps me just to repost and continue to promote about this masterclass and Orgasmic Oracle Mystery School. So much love to all of you. Blessings on your day and stay cult free, okay? Love you. Bless. Love. Thanks for being here. Mwah.